Hey guys, first video of the new year. Hopefully you are listening to me. Today we're going to discuss solving quadratic functions using factoring, and some of this stuff I talked about in class. I want to spend most of my time on the examples so you can get this stuff down. A quadratic function is a function that the largest exponent in the expression is a 2. Okay, so we're not talking about to the third power or something like that. It's the highest, so the biggest exponent is a 2. How do we solve? Okay, notice it says by factoring. How do we solve? First of all, your equation or function needs to be equal to 0. That means if that's the case, if you have something written like this with a y or f of x, that's called function notation. This is called function notation here. If it says y or this, then you just put a 0 for that, or a 0 for all of that right there. Or you got to move all the terms to one side, write them in descending order, combine any like terms. This is how you set your equation equal to 0. You need to factor completely. Don't forget how to factor. Look for a greatest common factor and how we've been factoring. Set each individual factor to 0. Each factor that has a variable is set equal to 0. So if it's just you factored out a greatest common factor of 5 or 3, then you don't have to set that equal to 0. But if it was 5x or 3x, then you would. Then you solve each individual equation. So what I'm about to show you is going over this process. This is really good step by step of how to do it, and I'm about to show it to you here. So I'm going to look at solving this equation here, and notice that I'm given a y here, okay? And so in this case, the first thing I'm going to do is put a 0 there, okay? So I'm actually substituting 0 in for y there, okay? And once I get that, then I just look to factor, and I'm going to factor this because it should factor into two binomials. There's a 1 there, so I know it's just going to be x and x. And the factors of 12 are 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. And I make the 2 negative and the 6 negative. And that'll give me an 8 when I add them together. And then negative 2 times negative 6 is a positive 12. So negative 2 minus 6. Now, if I asked you to factor, this would be your answer. But now I'm asking you to solve. Okay? So we're going to solve. So I'll bring that down. Each one of these, x minus 2 and x minus 6, gets set equal to 0. Add 2 to both sides. X equals 2. That's one solution. Add 6. And that's another solution. Now, notice I have here, in a quadratic function or equation, you should get at the most 2 answers, okay? And also notice that in my instructions say find the zeros or roots. Solving, finding the zeros or the roots all mean the same thing. These words will come up several times over the next few weeks or months or whatever. Zeros, roots, and solving a quadratic or solving an equation is really talking about the same thing. So if I use those interchangeably, you'll understand why. So there's my 2 answers there. Let's look at number 2. Number 2, I don't have a y. I have f of x. That's how you said it. It's not f times x. That's f of x. So what you do is the same thing you do with a y, is you put a 0 in that place. The next thing you do is look to factor. Now, the way I factor number 2 and the way I factor number 1 are going to be a little bit different. Why do you say that? Because on number 1, trinomial factored into 2 binomials. On number 2, I have 2 terms, so it's not a trinomial. And the first thing I notice is that I actually have a greatest common factor of 3x that factors out. And that leaves me with x plus 4. Now, again, if I asked you to factor, that's what your answer would be, and you will circle that and go on about your business. But I'm asking you to solve or find the zeros or the roots. Now what you do is take each factor that has a variable and set it equal to 0. this 3x has a variable, so I'll put that equal to 0. X plus 4 has a variable, I'll set it equal to 0. Now, if that was just a 3, I wouldn't set it equal to 0. Divide both sides by 3, and x equals 0. Subtract 4 from both sides, and x equals negative 4. So your two solutions are 0 and negative 4. Okay, let's keep moving. Number 3. Notice that number 3 does not have a y or an f of x at all. But step number 1 is always set your equation or function equal to 0. So in this case, I got 9x equals 1. How do I set this equal to 0? Do I just make the 1 0 or the 9x squared 0? No, I make 0 by moving everything to one side. Now, when you do this, make sure that you always move to make the x squared term positive, to make the squared term positive. So I didn't want to subtract 9x because then it would have been negative. I moved the 1 so that the 9x squared can stay positive. So now I got 9x squared minus 1 equals 0 because 1 minus 1 is 0. Now this is set equal to 0. Now I factor. How do I factor something that looks like this? Well, this is a difference of squares. This factors into 3x plus 1 times 3x minus 1. And I still make it equal to 0. So once you factor, you take each one of your factors and you set them equal to 0. So you subtract 1, divide by 3, add 1, divide by 3, and so your two solutions, because I'm running out of space, that's why I'm writing it like this. Your two solutions for this one is x equals negative 1/3 and x equals 1/3. So this one was 1/3, this one was negative 1. I just wrote it out this way because I couldn't work down. All right, let's keep moving. The last one, look at number 4. A lot of people look at stuff like this and they get really confused or they get overwhelmed. If you understand the principles that I've been trying to talk about, you'll realize that this is no different than what we've worked on. Why you say that, Mr. Freeman? Number one thing is to put everything to one side or make it equal to 0, just like I did on number 3. I just got more stuff to do. So I'll add 30 to both sides to make that go away. And I'll subtract 11r. And notice where I put them. I put them where they match under the like terms. So that'll go away. If both of those go away on the right hand side, I got 0. That's what I'm looking for. Over here on the left hand side, I got 5r squared minus 55r plus 150. You see that? Now everything is equal to 0. This is a lot more manageable than the original problem. So I've shown you several ways to make things equal to 0. So you should be able to do that. All right, now you just factor. Notice that I have a greatest common factor. So I factor out my greatest common factor. What would that be, 30? Now, am I finished? I bet this will factor some more. This being this trinomial here inside the parentheses. R and R, and the factors of 30 are 1 and 30, 2 and 15, 3 and 10, 5 and 6, and I'm trying to get an 11, a negative 11, so I'll make both the 5 and the 6 negative, and when you multiply those two, you get a positive 30, so that works. And so I do minus 5 and minus 6. And now once I factor, I set all my factors that have a variable equal to 0. Now notice, 5 does not have a variable, so I'm not going to set that equal to 0. Just r minus 5 and r minus 6. And that's going to be r equals 5. Yes, I skipped a step. And r equals 6. Okay, so hopefully you guys understood. If there's any questions, let me know. I'll give you an assignment, I guess, tomorrow in class.